two humans, two men from seemingly very different backgrounds. One whom I play is John Kinley, who's a special forces sergeant who's very experienced in the field of military and in warfare, and is in Afghanistan, has been deployed numerous times, and has a tremendous amount of experience, and has dealt with many different Afghan interpreters, and has found himself in many different situations. He runs a unit that looks for Taliban munitions and explosive sites, and so it's constantly in threat and in very dangerous situations. At the beginning of this movie, he seems to be striking out over and over and over again and can't really find anything. He's going through a lot of red tape and is struggling with his unit to try and find any munition sites or anything to uncover. And so he kind of goes rogue in a way, but with permission. And after losing an interpreter and losing some of his men early on in the movie, he gets a new one, and he's saddled up right next to this interpreter who he doesn't really like so much, and so begins the journey of the film. I think what was very important to Guy at the beginning of this process was that it be a process of discovery. That there was the essential structure of the film, the idea of, two people, in my opinion, doing the right thing. It's a very simple story, a story about two human beings deciding, or actually in some ways being forced to do the right thing. That there is no other choice but that in the end to resolve, the agita and struggle inside oneself. So Guy was very simple with it, which is what I love about working with him, is that it's all about structure. And then day to day, it evolves into discovering minutia. What you figured out the day before is then added to the next day, and so on and so forth. So when I first met with him, he said, this is what I want to do. I want to have a real creative time, but I want it to be enjoyable. And I believe creativity comes out of enjoyment and out of joy, as opposed to tension and intensity in that way. Now, there's a space for that in front of the camera, but the process should be a place, the movie should be a place of discovery. And that was the first conversation that we had. For me, what got me was this relationship. When I first read the script, it was all about a very complicated relationship between two people and very little spoken. And I love that opportunity as a performer, the opportunity to communicate with someone on another level outside of the verbal communication. And to me, it felt like a Western, the opportunity to kind of sit in a space, occasionally ride your horse, but generally it's about the relationship, the unspoken relationship between two human beings. What I loved about John Kinley is that he's a good man. I think over the past number of years, I've tended to move towards characters that are, I guess people would define as sort of complex in how they walk the line between good and bad or this and that. I don't know if I really fully believe in that, good and bad. I think I believe in that we are all very complex, very fascinating humans, being put in many different trying circumstances, all of us. We have all certainly been through a number of years where so many people have faced terrible hardships, and it continues. So to me, I think John Kinley is a character that even through those trials pulls out morality and humanity, even despite himself. John Kinley is a Special Forces soldier, and Ahmed is his interpreter. And I think the relationship between the two of them is so fascinating in that Ahmed has a wonderful line where he says, "I'm not a translator, I'm an interpreter." And I think, interpreting culture and behavior, knowing that Ahmed is wiser than John, has more authority in so many different places than John does, saves John's life as John saves his, back and forth, that there's a quality between these two people, even though there's this hierarchy in the military, and that there is just this deep equality between these two men. And I would argue that power switches back and forth. At times it's not equal. At times Ahmed knows way, way more than John, and vice versa. And both of them learn so much. I've spent a lot of time with learning about the military. I've spent years, I've made a number of movies about military, people who have spent time in the military. I have a number of friends that I've gathered through that process, and then also before I even began that process, who are in the military in all different forms and all different sections of the military. And so I look at this process as, gathering all that stuff for many years and bringing it here. In terms of John specifically, I think what I liked about this in terms of preparation was there, instead of that normal preparation that I have done many times, kind of grinding and digging deep and being sort of obsessive about it, I trusted in the history of everything that I've learned, of the people that I know, of the relationships I have, and asking them the questions that I needed. And then I think it was beyond the uniform, is what I like to think about it. It's sort of beyond the uniform into a sense of the human. And I keep saying human because I think it's a really important thing to point out, that this story is outside of anything that any country, any affiliation, it's outside of all of that. It's what do we do when someone saves our life? What I love about Guy is that each scene has a stamp of Ritchie on it, that, you head into a scene that you think might be kind of obvious take, and he always edges in with humor. He always edges in with a sort of obtuse angle on the normal sort of interaction. And so you just never know what you're going to get. And there's always a great laugh, he and I just immediately, from the first day and even before, but particularly the first day of shooting, got along, and I really love him. I really love working with him. I love that some scenes you do them, you move through them fast, and he's done with it. And then other scenes, as an actor, he'll come in and he will focus with you, and he will move in very small steps, give you a direction, and give you the opportunity and space to explore. To me, I'm an actor that loves space to explore. And when I have a leader who says, again, show me something new. Again, show me something different. How about this idea? How about that idea? I eat it up and I adore it. And so that's what this process has been with Guy. Dar has a profound nobility in him, a sort of stoic quality, and a kindness. He's also very strong, been through very much in many things in his life. And so he brings that rich history with him. I think, and in that way, he's perfect for the role of Ahmed. And in a lot of ways, that's what makes my job as his fellow actor and opposite him so easy. Dar and I just get along and got along immediately. He's empathetic and open-hearted, not competitive, only in a way that is helpful for a scene or for, an exchange. But he's just, in fact, I think part of the challenge is from Guy, and even sometimes I'll tell him, is to turn his nobility down, because he's such a wonderful person that, you want him to be a bit more of a mystery, because, but he's just such a lovely man. And I think that is who Ahmed is, but also with a darkness and a history and a sense of a question about him, but ultimately he's just a great guy. I've worked with our Army Department before. They are meticulous in their details. I think one of the best parts about this movie is that we were using airsoft guns and weaponry. And what that did was allow for a reality, a sense of truth to the weapon itself, but at the same time, great safety, which I think is of utmost importance and I know is really important to Guy. It allowed us to be freer with the weapons, and we were always very safe. I'm always very safe. But I think that transitioning into those types of weapons for movie making was wonderful and really important. In terms of costumes and costuming, you know, the group around me and everything around me, we had wonderful military advisors and just a costume department that was devoted to the accuracy. I think the movie is an action adventure thrilling film. I think like any great genre movie that is action and adventure, I think at the heart of it is a real relationship. At the heart of it is something moving. And I think even though you will be thrilled while watching it, I think hopefully in the end, you will be moved. And may it, like so many of the wonderful movies I've seen that have moved me, have you walk out saying, I'm going to think about those other things in my life that maybe people I could help or something I could do, and also be entertained.